What's up, merch culture? We're back with episode 4. What's up, Rich? How you doing? How's Daytona?
Hey, what's up, Carlo? Daytona is incredible. Obviously, the weather. You just can't beat it. How's Chicago doing?
Yeah, actually, today in Chicago is pretty nice. We got a heat wave. It's 42 degrees, I think. But it's funny. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll check the phone. I'll check my phone, check the weather app, and I'll look at Daytona, and I'm like, damn, it's 84 degrees there. That's insane. But that's good. You got the good color. You got a good color in your face. You got good energy. That's what we want. That's what Daytona brings out of us.
What's the topic for today?
Yeah, we actually do have a new one. This is going to be a good one, I think, for the audience because, I think there's a lot of people that are listening in that are either running shops, working with shops, have a value chain of supply chain, and it's not an easy business to get into. And when it comes to building factories and facilities, it's not an easy game. So this topic that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how we built a factory in 60 days in Daytona, and it's perfectly fitting and timing because you're there on site on the floor. So yeah, I'm just going to ask some questions and just go through the process of how this all went down. And I think there's a lot of value that the audience is going to take from this as well, because there were some errors and things that we learned along the way that will be good for everyone to listen and learn from.
Yeah, even if you're building a sales team in another state, you don't necessarily have to be opening up, a big factory. I think we have a lot of incredible things that we've learned along the way. Before we even jump into, going into the city of Daytona, the state of Florida, and picking someone to run it, the why was super important. There had to be a really, really strong reason for, going and not expanding in the city or the state that we're already currently in. And that why started with, our client base. The clients that we serve, have artists that are touring all over the country, and delivering an incredible value to them is to have production facilities throughout the country so that we can save on time, save on freight costs, sometimes save on producing product in really, really cold weather, being very close to where we're actually the event is happening. And so adding capacity, and not just adding capacity because we could have just expanded Chicago, adding capacity throughout the country. That why for us was at the top, for getting into another place for all those reasons. So that's really kind of where things started.
Exactly. Yeah, being on the East Coast and being able to get to venues and events, faster than we could coming out of Chicago in the Midwest, definitely made sense. But like you mentioned, capacity was one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people talk about sometimes. It's especially when you get to the summer and the busy season, it's how can we get these things done? Do we have press time? Do we have the capability to produce? And I know we found ourselves talking about a capacity a lot and just saying that we need to find a way to scale and just, give the clients what they're asking for and find a way to have more output. So I think you're right on with the why and just the reason why a company or an organization would say, let's take this crazy ride, the crazy ride that we're going to talk about now. And how do you do this? How do you actually build a facility, get it up and running that is thousands. Well, I'm not a geography major, but it's a lot of miles away from Chicago. So I think tell us about how do the first step was who's going to run this thing? Who is going to run this place? We're not necessarily going to move ourselves and, Joey or Rich, or myself or Nick, we're not going to get up and go and move and start this ourselves. So we really had to find someone that could be the grown up and the adult and run this for us and actually, take the bull by the horns and actually get this up and running. And I know that story is unique in itself. So tell us a little bit about how that went down and how we made that decision on the person that we chose.
Yeah, step one, and even before we get to step one, having a list building a list out for people that you think are incredible is something that everyone should be doing on, as of today. Who would you love to have part of your organization? And one of those people that has always been at the top of our list was a gentleman named Stuart Miller. And he has an incredible background. He's worked at all different types of shops and even at Rutland Inc., but most recently worked at Paramount, and ran a very sizable facility. So, we were, always kind of like recruiting him. And he has great stories. We got to have Stuart on, Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
That would make for some really, really good content. But we've always, kind of been talking to him, having conversations, and this is like a 10-year journey, in like just constantly keeping in touch, seeing each other at, some of the trade shows, purposely getting together when we were in the same cities, and just, building that relationship over time. And so one day Joey came in my office and he was like, "Hey, I just talked to someone that knows Stu, and unfortunately, he's going to be moving back to Florida." And that's when I was like, "Really? And what's he going to do?" Well, he's kind of a free agent right now, so he really is not sure. He's going to have a lot of options and so forth. And I'm like, I'm going to call him right now. So Joey came into my office. We got on the phone with Stu. We say, "Hey, the word travels fast that you're going to be leaving Missouri and you're going to be heading back to Florida." And he gave us those reasons why. And we're like, "Great, let's build a factory together, and let's build something incredible." And so, we sent them an offer letter that day. Carla, do you remember? Like, I remember Joey and I came, to you and Annabelle. I was like, "Hey, you have to put an offer letter together," and you're like, "For who?" I was like, for our Florida facility," and you're like, "Where's our Florida facility?"
Exactly. Like we don't even have one yet. We don't even have a location, and that was a huge risk. But it's like I think you're hitting it right on the head. Where it's like timing is everything, and when the opportunity presents itself, you just got to jump on it. And that was cool because we got that offer letter out so quick and didn't really have the role or the position just yet, but knew what was coming.
Yeah, when we sent the offer, it was even more comical that Stu was like, "Okay, we went back and forth, a little bit, which is, always kind of, helpful when we do go, when somebody comes back to us and like does a little negotiation, we always enjoy that. That means that they're most likely passionate about the role. And so, then he asked, "Okay, when do I start?" And we're like, "We start tomorrow." And so what's the address? Like, where do I go to work? Like, where do we start? We're like, "Yeah, we have none." And so that's when the process all, started to roll. And we got hooked up through a friend with a local real estate broker named Derek, from local down here to Daytona, who was really incredible. And he started showing us properties from Pompano Beach, at all the way southern Florida and all the way up to almost Jacksonville. And the further and further we got away from where Stewart's home base was, the more and more kind of nervous he would get, because we just had such a hard time. And we looked at, I had to say, like at least 50 buildings. And interesting enough, the timing of this is, just coming off of COVID, the world being shut down, but yet warehouses being in insane high demand. And so having those warehouses, get picked off the moment that they come on, onto the market, was something we definitely didn't expect. And especially coming from like I would say top 3 city in the country and going into like central Florida, we had expected that we could just like jump right in and find a building, find a location, and that actually wasn't the case. And so randomly, Derek reached out to me and he was like, "I know this doesn't fit, but I have a 76,000 square foot warehouse that I'm going to be taking as a listing. And the coolest part about this is it's 2 blocks away from the Daytona 500 stadium, so where they do, the NASCAR race. And I was like, they have a stadium in Daytona. Like I was like totally clueless. And Carlo, like when we went to see this and we drove by the stadium, what was your first reaction?
It was just massive. It was colossal. I don't think I've ever seen a stadium that large and all outdoors. So yeah, I was extremely surprised. I was kind of in the same boat with you. Like I didn't even know that existed. Like the Speedway, I know obviously hosts some of the biggest NASCAR races, but we're from Chicago. We don't go to Daytona very often. So just to see that was just a strong presence, and I think it gave off a different vibe too. That's what we really liked about Daytona. But also like just being on the same street, I think it really connected with some of our culture too. Like culture is kind of known for fast and speed and getting things out the door quickly and just being full throttle, no pun intended, but that's like really connected with that area as well, just being next to the speedway. So yeah, it was a really cool vibe and a really strong feeling when we saw it for the first time.
Yeah, when I looked up, other events, when we drove by, I was just like, well, what do they even do here? And saw that they actually do concerts at this absolutely incredible venue. And I have now had the opportunity to go to my first 500, and I mean, it was just an absolutely incredible experience. Like the jets flying above your head and the cars whizzing by at 200 miles an hour. It's like it could actually make somebody have a panic attack a little bit, and like love it at the same time. It was just like a really incredible event. But yeah, as soon as we walked into this place, we knew that it was perfect for us. I mean, it had big giant ceilings. I don't know if they're 30 something feet tall. It had two kind of separate buildings where you had a big giant office space and a second floor, and then just wide open span, another 30,000 square feet on just the receiving side and the inventory side, and it was perfectly walled off. So we jumped on this opportunity right away. And I think then we started to go down this wild road of getting the financing, and how that was going to work and who we were going to choose as our banking partner. And there's a couple things that we learned prior to this, is that you can't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket. You always have to run parallel opportunities, no matter if you're buying a house or you're dating, or whatever it is in your life. You always have to have multiple options as you enter into an experience or a purchase, until you start to get further along, in which you'll know when it's the right time that you have to choose. And for us, just feeling comfortable and having something be a relationship be very easy, and not a lot of traffic, and working with people that you are super comfortable with and who believe in what you're doing. When you get people on the other end of the relationship that are constantly questioning your mission or constantly questioning what you're doing, it's probably not a good relationship. And we decided to go with our bank that has been working with us for quite some time, many years, Associated Bank. And Danny and Adam and the team over there, they were just incredible through this whole process. I mean, such a great relationship that they actually took us to the Daytona 500 recently. And so if we bring any value to somebody that is just going down this road of opening a new business, or buying a piece of property, or getting a new car, it's like choose what feels comfortable and choose what feels like family to you, and go with what your gut tells you. And when people believe in you, you should believe in them, and it always seems to work out. Sounds simple, but when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the heat of the process, you oftentimes are are uncertain if you should go with the pros, or sometimes it's just so much more comfortable to just stay with the people that and have worked with. So, long story short, obviously we landed on this property. We had the financing all set and square, and then we started to move into choosing a general contractor. And there's a lot of lessons that we really learned from this as well. When we entered into this agreement, we were then able, thanks to an amazing seller on this property, we were able to start to actually pull permits before financing was completed. We got all of our sign-offs from the current owner of the building, the seller, but then we had to choose who was going to be our GC. And I don't know if you remember coming down here, Carlo, with Joey and I, and we got this group of local talent who I'm positive is incredible at what they do. And then we had our team and Randy at Ranlin, who has built every factory that we have done so far. Dating all the way back to like 2009 when we were in 900 square feet. And it was go the less expensive route and choose local contractors, or pay a premium, and somehow, some way, try to convince Randy to be the GC and move out here for 6 months. And we went that route. We It was another same experience of like what feels comfortable and what has the least amount of traffic. What felt fluid to us was just working with Randy. He knows the machines. He's done this a million times, and he was actually here the other day. So just going that route, everything went off perfectly. We got all of our permits ahead of time, far before we started any construction, and Randy just really went to work. He hired some local talent, and he hired a team down here to aid him with permitting and so forth. But probably the other funny story was when we were starting to architect the gas lines. Us Chicago boys were, it comes with the building. Like every building in the Midwest is going to have natural gas run to the building. And so, we asked Randy, like, hey, where does the natural gas come in? Where are we going to find our meter? And he said, I don't know. Ask the realtor. And we asked Derek's like, hey, Derek, where's the gas line running here? He's like, gas line? He's like, there's no gas running to the building. We don't have heat in Florida. So that was just like such another undertaking that, the gas line was actually 2 blocks down. And, we're going to have to work with the Daytona Gas Company locally here to push a pipe 2 blocks down the street and then over and underneath our parking lot and into the building. And I don't know about you, Carlo, but when I first saw them start to push that gas line underneath the ground, I was like, there's no way that they're going to do this. Like, there's no way that they're going to bring a pipe 2 blocks. Right.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you feed the pipe underground? Yeah, I think it was such a surprise. Like, what do you mean the building doesn't have gas? It was such a surprise to us, but definitely a learning curve right there. Like another thing that was just like an underlying theme that you're talking about, whether it's with Stu and picking the right person, or the bank relationship and picking the right partner there, or even the contractor, it all comes back to underlying theme is like partnership, value, relationship, and choosing those things over anything else that might sway that decision, like pricing or expertise or simplicity. And then, and having those partners behind you, I think it also scale to any part of business, right? Not just this story, but as long as your partner within your supply chain or your value chain believes in your story and really has an interest in the outcome of your success, then although things might be crazy. And like, we didn't talk about just the timing, like we're under pressure too. Like we only have a certain amount of time to make all this happen. So getting that whole system right, getting those partnerships right, and doing it in less than 3 months, now you're under pressure as well, just adds a whole nother level of complexity, which is why it was so important. But then, having those partners behind you and then presenting with just a situation where, like, what do you do with the gas line? Like, how does this building not have it? Just put you in a little bit better position to kind of like be ready for it. But yeah, that was a crazy time.
Yeah, we technically built this entire factory in 60 days. And I think you make an incredible point is, whether you're choosing a merchandise partner or you're choosing a general contractor, you want to choose somebody who believes in what you're doing. You want to choose somebody that no matter what happens, and things do happen, you can end up not having a gas line. And I mean, we can go over and over and over again on, how many things that were totally unexpected. But having a partner like Ranlin or like Associated Bank who believed in what we were doing, and people that we enjoyed working with. There were absolutely no jerks, and still no jerks that we ever decide to partner with. And things when do and go wrong, and when they do, that the partner on the other end is going to make it right, no matter what. So help me God.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is like ultra important when choosing a partner, really, across the board. You got to enjoy the people that you work with and treat them well.
100%. You also said one thing too that I want to bring back up is like, and I remember you and I talking through a lot of these scenarios. It's like, trust your gut, and like that. I think there's science behind this too, where there are so many organisms and things that happen within your stomach and the gut, and that's what makes you feel uneasy about things. There's like all these sensory, like millions and millions of things that make you feel a certain way when something is off, and like trusting your gut, because you have that feeling that something might not be going right, or that you need to bring in some backup. I think we had that situation and that trust your gut moment so many times. And because of past experience, we knew to listen to that and listen to that feeling. And it turned out that, in many of these situations that it was right to trust your gut. So yeah, I remember a lot of those moments.
I don't think your gut is ever wrong.
Right.
I especially, some decisions, I think all of us as entrepreneurs are making, are binary decisions, but, really there's multiple ways to get things done. And there's many ways to win. And so, like, even if you just only trust your gut so that you enjoy the process and you enjoy the people that you're working with, and business is something that is fun, is worth 20% difference in the total cost, or not being in the exact area that you would love to be. But yeah, our gut once again has done us really, really well. Stuart and his team were able to hire 45 people before we even opened the door. We're already moved into a second shift here in Daytona, and the entire town of Daytona, and like how they feel about businesses here, and like how well they've welcomed us into the community has really been incredible. And for any other towns or cities, whether they're big cities like Chicago or smaller communities like Daytona, just believing in entrepreneurs and believing in the mission, and welcoming them into your community is something that every single city should be doing. Removing red tape and making things complicated for entrepreneurs, because that's really how things get done, and that's how the world continues to grow and develop.
Yeah.
So
There's a little element of luck there too. It's like we landed in Daytona. We happened to find that space there, but who would have knew that also they would be so welcoming and so happy to have a business like ours join the community. But if you're always persistent and persevering, usually luck is on your side. So, one thing I want to touch on before we wrap up is like, there's so much risk involved too, right? Like, risk with some reward at the end, and just how we make those decisions or how one makes a decision and taking a risk. And like, for example, how do you get a shop open and running in 60 days? We all know that supply chain was messed up, it was disrupted. Ordering machines for our industry still today, I don't know what it's take, 5 or 6 months to get a machine. If we bought one today, it doesn't deliver for 6 months. So how in an environment like that do you get a shop up and running in 60 days when it takes 6 months to build a piece of machinery? We bought those machines 6 months in advance. Just like we sent an offer to someone without a space, we sent a purchase order for machines without a shipping location, which was a massive, massive risk. But we were so determined that we would have something, whether it's Uncle Jim's garage that we're going to put those in, or borrow some space where we can just crate those and put those somewhere. We're going to have somewhere for those to ship to. It was a massive risk, but because of that risk, there was a reward in timing and all those things coming together at the same time to be able to say we printed our first T-shirt in 60 days.
Yeah. I think ultimately what you're saying is you have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to believe in your organization's mission. And when you do, and wholeheartedly, then you're willing to put that risk out. And you're willing to do whatever it takes, even though there may often be an element of insanity at play. Like, where are you going to put those machines, or what is this person going to do for a year and a half while you look for a building? But when you're wholeheartedly committed to what you're trying to do, and you're really focused on that why, and you believe in your clients to support you as well, in taking this big risk and more than doubling your capacity or your sales force, or whatever it is that you're doing, it all just seems to work out. And so far, knock on wood, it really has. And I tell you what, I love being out here. I mean, it is really incredible, healthy lifestyle. I could even walk around the building, get a little more steps in, constantly. So
sunshine will definitely do that for you. It's a beautiful thing. Well, I think this was a really great episode. There's so many values and golden nuggets that people could take from this. No risk, no reward, but if you have a passion and a great team, so many people were invested all the way around, whether it's internal team or external team, everyone believed in the mission. And don't get fooled. It didn't go without challenges and failures, and still will be many, many more to overcome. But as long as you're rowing in the same direction and have that same mission, those challenges can be overcome. So, have a great time in Daytona. We can't wait to have you back here in Chicago. But onward and upward for sure.
I'm bringing the heat. I'm coming back soon.
Please bring the heat.
All right.
We need it.
See ya.
All right. See you, Rich.